So today we're ranking GDragon's albums from iconic to legendary, diving into each one of them to see what made them special and what made everybody lose their minds just a little bit. And let's be real, we're talking about GDragon. There's no bad album here. The man's entire career is purely a highlight reel. I also want to mention that this list is in a purely chronological order from the oldest to the most recent one, except one, but that's a surprise. Watch till the end to see what we prepared. So this in no way reflects a ranking in terms of quality or preference. This is simply just a list. But if you do have your personal ranking, drop in the comments what album is your favorite, which album is your least favorite, and let's talk about it. Also, I need to mention that I am aware not all of them are studio albums, some are EPs, but I will treat them as studio albums so we don't create any confusion. Okay, let's dive in. We start with Heartbreaker, the album that launched GDragon's solo era and instantly set the whole industry on fire. The year is 2009. No idol had ever released a full solo album on this scale before. It was bold, colorful, electronic, and totally different from BigBang's sound. Although initially scheduled to be released in April, the release date was pushed back to August 18 to coincide with his 21st birthday, and it featured 10 songs. Propelled by its lead single of the same name, Heartbreaker, an electronic pop song, the album sold over 300,000 copies and went on to win Album of the Year at the 2009 Mnet Asian Music Awards. The song Breathe managed to chart within the top 20, while his other songs, The Leaders, Hello Queen CL, A Boy, one of my favorite songs, Hello and She's Gone, went on to top various charts upon their release. In November 2010, YG Entertainment announced a collaboration album between GDragon and TOP. To promote their album, the duo released 3 singles, Hi Hi, Oh Yeah, and Knockout. The album debuted at number 1 on the Gaon album chart, but we will talk about this one a bit later. Keep watching until the end. But the drop wasn't smooth sailing. Almost immediately, GDragon was accused of plagiarism by Sony Music, as his tracks Heartbreaker and Butterfly were thought to be similar to Florida's Right Round and Oasis's She's Electric respectively. The media went wild. Some critics even said that GDragon's career might not survive it. EMI, who also owned the rights to Right Round, stated that they saw no similarities between the two songs. In response, Sony Korea denied GDragon the ability to promote the track any further without paying reparations. On September 21, 2009, Sisa Magazine, a news program on MBC, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, if not, I apologize, stated that officials from Sony reportedly sent YG Entertainment warning letters about plagiarism. Sony's legal representative stated it was a hard decision for the music critics. However, they decided that there were similarities and accordingly issued a warning letter to the production company and composers. However, YG Entertainment claimed nothing had been decided or legally determined, and that the letter which YG supposedly received from Sony was not considered legal action. They also stated that they have not received a direct response from the American publishers regarding the matter. On March 6, 2010, YG Entertainment announced that they personally contacted Florida's representatives and that he will appear as a featured artist in a new version of Heartbreaker to be released as a bonus track on GDragon's concert album Shine a Light. On May 22nd, GDragon appeared as a special guest at Florida's concert in Korea and performed the new version of Heartbreaker together. Talk about turning controversy into a power move, eh? And that wasn't the only drama. His 2009 Shine a Light concert got investigated for suggestive performances. GDragon was accused of dry humping one of the dancers. Yes, seriously. The controversy was so great because it was an all ages concert and the Korean government had to conduct an investigation. The dancer Amy assured everyone that it was merely a short moment of straddling, but the case was fortunately dropped and it only made him look more rebellious. All the backlash ended up defining him. He was the idol who refused to play by anybody's rules. So even with all the noise, Heartbreaker made G-Dragon, well, G-Dragon. Fast forward to 2012, one of a kind. This is pure swagger, G-Dragon at his most confident, cocky, and creative. One of a Kind is the first extended play by G-Dragon. It was released digitally on September 15, 2012 and physically on September 18 through YG Entertainment. The EP consists of 7 songs, all written or co-written and co-composed by G-Dragon himself. Upon release, the album was a commercial success in South Korea, as expected. It peaked atop the Gaon Albums chart and on the Billboard World Albums chart. The EP also entered the Billboard 200, peaking at number 161, making G-Dragon the first Korean soloist with a Korean language album to enter that chart. As of 2017, the album has sold over 260,000 copies in South Korea, making it the highest-selling album by a Korean soloist since the release of his debut album Heartbreaker in 2009. The album, it's a mix of chaos and charm, Crayon's neon madness, that excess melancholy, and the self-titled track that feels like a victory lap. One of a Kind was released as a promotional single on August 24. That XX and Crayon were later released as first and second singles of the EP. Originally, the song Without You had a featuring first credited as ? From YG New Girl Group, when it was first announced that YG was starting a new girl group. Almost 4 years later, after the EP was released, the featuring vocals were revealed to be Rosé from said new girl group, BLACKPINK. G-Dragon embarked on his first world tour, the One of a Kind World Tour, in support of the EP, which marked the first time for a Korean soloist to hold a Japanese Dome Arena tour. Many of his YG label mates made special guest appearances on various stops throughout the tour, including his bandmates from BigBang. But of course, there was drama. The song That XX was banned for minors due to explicit lyrics, and even blurred out curse words couldn't save it from KBS censorship. Meanwhile, Crayon divided people. Some loved the insanity, others said it was too weird for mainstream K-pop. And then there was the luxury and arrogance narrative. Critics saying that he was showing off too much wealth and ego. But fans knew better. That's just G-Dragon living his art. His excess is his expression. Looking back, I think that One of a Kind captures G-Dragon's golden age. Wild, confidence, creative freedom, and absolute zero fear of what people think. Then came Coup d'etat, and the name I think says it all. It was a revolution. Released just 1 year later, this album was darker, more experimental, and way more global. He worked with Missy Elliott, Diplo, and Bauer, huge international names, which made headlines everywhere. Coup d'etat was initially released on iTunes. The first 5 tracks of the album were released on September 2nd, 2013. The next 7 tracks were released on September 5th, and physical copies were released on September 13th. The album was supported by the singles Black, featuring then YG trainee Jennie, and Who You, released on September 2nd, and Crooked and Nileria on September 5th. It also contains the promotional single Mishigo, which was released on April 1st, 2013. The album charted at number 1 on the South Korean Gaon album chart and entered the Billboard 200, making GDragon the first K-pop act with multiple entries in that chart. Coup d'etat received primarily favorable reviews by critics. In an interview with Complex, GDragon explained that he did not feel connected with his first solo album anymore. Commenting on the evolution of his sound, he stated, "Now, I've been in the game for some time, and I understand how to have a better balance of things. I've come to realize ways of making music without being excessive. I'm more at ease when I'm rapping. Whether it's music or fashion, the older I get, I realize what's comfortable lasts longer. And a lot of that is reflected in the new album." But the controversy this time wasn't about lyrics or behavior. It was about meaning. People didn't know what to make of it. The title coup d'etat, a political term, freaked out conservative media. Some said he was rebelling against Korea's music industry itself, trying to start a revolution in K-pop. Others thought it was too westernized, too conceptual, or too artsy. But for fans and artists, Coup d'etat was proof that K-pop could be art and not just entertainment. And then there's Crooked, one of his greatest songs ever. Behind the punk energy, it's actually heartbreaking, a cry for freedom in a life full of pressure, which is such a paradox because it's such a fun song. It's one of my favorites, actually. So yeah, I think that Coup d'etat wasn't just just about music. I think it was a statement from GD. I'm not your idol, I'm an artist, which I think sums it up pretty accurately. At number 2, we have Kwon Ji Yong, and this one hits on a different level. This one is my favorite album, and I am so excited to talk about it with you guys. Following the release of Coup d'etat in 2013, GDragon ventured outside of music, pursuing his interest in fashion, art, and design. This culminated in the launch of his art house brand, Piece Minus One, in 2015, beginning with an art exhibition of the same name. In 2014, GDragon began writing songs for BigBang's album Made, but suffered writer's block, which delayed the release of the album. Made eventually became the group's most commercially successful album to date, as we know, and its supporting tour set a new record in concert attendance for Korean artists in Asia, North America, and Oceania. GDragon spent the majority of 2015 and 2016 on tour and celebrated his band's 10th anniversary, with activities for the full Made album finally wrapping up in December 2016. In January 2017, his label confirmed he would be releasing new music in the first half of the year. After spending 2 years on tour, GDragon revealed he felt lonely every day. Nevertheless, he acknowledged that I'm loved wherever I go and I enjoy my work, confessing he feels a mixture of happiness, sadness, and loneliness. For 6 months preceding the release of the record, GDragon devoted himself to preparations for the album and his 2017 world tour, a process during which he did not sleep well and lost a lot of weight. On his fourth record, GD announced he wanted to distance himself from his stage persona, stating, "I wanted to remember Kwon Ji Yong, not GDragon. To me, Kwon Ji Yong is more important, so I decided to officially introduce him to audiences." GD had originally named the EP 30, stating he wanted to look back on his life at 30 and feel he had achieved something meaningful. After years of being the trendsetter and icon, GDragon finally pulled back the curtain and let us see the person underneath. But even this vulnerable era came with its own firestorm. Who's surprised at this point? Not me. Released digitally on June 8, 2017, the EP was his first release in 4 years, following his album Coup d'etat. The album wasn't sold on a CD. It came on a USB drive, a tiny red one with his birth name on it. Fans loved it. The industry, not so much. The Korean Music Content Industry Association actually refused to recognize it as a proper album. That sparked a national debate. What even is an album in the digital age? And of course, GDragon stayed silent, letting the art speak for itself, like always. Meanwhile, fans read between the lines. The EP debuted atop the US Billboard World Albums and Hitseekers albums and also topped the Billboard Hot Albums in Japan. The EP was a commercial success in mainland China, where it sold 1 million digital copies in less than 1 week and was the best-selling digital album of 2017 by a Korean artist. To promote the record, GDragon embarked on his Act 3 Moth World Tour just 2 days after its release. Songs like Untitled 2014 felt like confessions, quiet, painful, and deeply personal. Rumors of burnout and exhaustion surrounded him, and this album felt like both a goodbye and a release. In Middle Fingers Up, GDragon talks about the diminishing number of his personal relationships and his ever-decreasing social circle. My personal favorite part of the song is the part where he mentions Songri. I will put it on the screen. As we now are very familiar with Songri's issues, this song hits very differently. Superstar reveals his inner feelings of hollowness and emptiness, despite GD achieving the success he previously dreamed of. Divina Commedia, titled after Dante's poem of the same name, accounts his rise to fame. The song includes references to the Truman Show, with the rapper questioning reality and sacrifices he made during adolescence through to his 20s to attain success and notoriety. Now let's talk more about the novelty of this album, which is the packaging. The EP's physical release was made on a USB flash drive rather than a compact disc. The 4GB flash drive is inscribed with Kwon Ji Yong, blood type A, 1988, August 18, the print being handwritten by GDragon's mother when he was born. After complaints that the USB was defective due to its red coating rubbing off, the artist's label released pictures of the production process showing the USBs were colored by hand in red ink to obtain the vintage scratched look that GDragon had wanted. The label further explained that the coating was an intentional move that reflects the album concept, and is symbolic of GDragon's DNA and birth. Even more interesting, the drive itself does not contain the songs in a digital format. Instead, users are directed to a download page for the album and other exclusive content from the YG Entertainment website, redeemed using a serial number. The unusual distribution model, however, resulted in concerns over whether the EP would be eligible to appear on South Korea's major album charts. The EP was disqualified from the Gaon album chart as the Korean Music Content Industry Association argued per local copyright law that an album is defined as a physical medium supplied with music, and that Kwon Ji Yong was ineligible because the music was not supplied on the drive itself. GDragon responded to Gaon chart excluding the sales for his USB as an album sale, writing in an Instagram post, "What's the problem? Everything in the world has pros and cons, but the external form of music records has consistently changed from cassette tape to CD and then to download file. Isn't the most important thing for music a good melody that will linger on the ears, mouths, and minds of people for a long time, and the lyrics that can touch people and make them laugh and cry?" I mean, of course, he was right. The issue was utterly silly. In December 2017, Gaon Chart announced that they would change their policy to include different album formats like GD's USB, involving revising the definition of an album within copyright laws to be more inclusive of items that are not traditional offline albums. And the new policy came into effect on January 1st, 2018. I love this album. It really is my favorite, and I think that it's emotional and raw and revolutionary in its own quiet way. I think that Heartbreaker made him famous, but Kwon Ji Yong made him human. And finally, we have number one, the present, the comeback, the rebirth, Ubermensch. Released on February 25th, 2025 by Galaxy Corporation and Empire Distribution, it is GD's first musical release in 7 years since Kwon Ji Yong in 2017, as well as his first album since leaving YG Entertainment in 2023. Ubermensch received widespread acclaim from critics, who praised its conceptual depth, experimental production, and GDragon's artistic reinvention. The album debuted atop charts worldwide, becoming one of the best-selling Korean solo releases of 2025, with over 1 million copies sold within its first month. It also topped digital charts across Asia and reached the top 10 in several international markets. The album was supported by 3 singles: Power, Home Sweet Home, and Too Bad, all of which achieved global success and became cultural touchpoints in 2025. Ubermensch was further promoted through the Ubermensch World Tour, launched in March 2025. GDragon brought the album's conceptual visuals and theatrical sound to life across major cities worldwide, including Paris, where yours truly attended. And no, I will never stop being annoying about it. Sorry. But of course, even before release, the discussion had already started. Surprised yet? His long hiatus, people speculated everything from burnout to retirement. His sudden reemergence sparked media frenzy. Can he still dominate? Is GDragon still a king? Well, if history tells us anything, he doesn't need to prove a thing. When GD announced his comeback with the album Ubermensch, the title alone immediately stirred conversation and, for some, concern. The word Ubermensch, which comes from the German philosopher Nietzsche, literally means superhuman or beyond human. In Nietzsche's philosophy, it represents a person who transcends limitations and creates their own values, a symbol of creative evolution and inner strength. However, the term later became associated with the Nazi ideology after it was misused and distorted by propaganda during World War II. Because of that dark historical link, some fans and commentators initially worried that the title might carry unintended Nazi symbolism. But G-Dragon's artistic vision has always been rooted in individualism, transformation, and self reinvention, and not political ideology. His team clarified that the concept behind Ubermensch draws from the original Nietzschean philosophy, the idea of transcending one's limits, which aligns with G-Dragon's long-running themes of creative freedom and identity. Visually and lyrically, the album's message focuses on rebirth, empowerment, and human potential, not on any political or historical movement. For real, I don't think that GD has any Nazi bone in his body. Still, it was an important reminder of how cultural symbols can carry very different meanings across contexts, and how global artists like G Dragon walk a fine line between artistic inspiration and public interpretation. Looking beyond perceived improprieties, though, G Dragon's theme for the album makes total sense. He had, in his own words, summed up the concept of Ubermensch. Ubermensch means beyond man, representing an individual who transcends themselves. This album embodies the idea of presenting a stronger and more resilient version of oneself to the public. I hope this strength resonates with my fans through my music. Everything we've seen so far this year, the visuals, the concept, the tone, the energy, points to a new era. Not the kid from Heartbreaker, not the superstar from Crayon, and not even the weary poet from Untitled. This This is G-Dragon Reborn. I don't know what to tell you guys. I listened to this album the day it got released, and I think I listened to it top to bottom maybe 10 times, and still to this day I cannot pick a favorite. From the playfulness of Power and Too Bad and Take Me to the sexy power of Bonamana and Gyro Drop. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. I like it. I like it. I think it's short, and each song has something unique and different. And yeah, I think it's a great album and a great comeback. Really impressive. And that's why I think that Ubermensch holds a special place in G Dragon's discography, because it's not just an album, it's a statement to the world. I'm not here to compete, I'm here to transform. We have to take a moment to honor GD&TOP, the explosive collaboration between GDragon and TOP, which was launched in 2010. At a time, BigBang was already one of the biggest groups in Asia. But GD&TOP was something entirely different. A bold experiment that redefined what idols could do. Instead of releasing safe, predictable pop songs, GDragon and TOP dropped a full-length hip-hop album filled with sharp beats, witty lyrics, and style that screamed individuality. GDragon and TOP co-wrote the majority of the lyrics on the album, noting that, as rappers, we'd like to tell more stories for our fans to listen. In an attempt to create their own personal style separate from their band, the duo opted for a more hip-hop sound to contrast the group's current genre of electronic music, though G-Dragon also acknowledged the influence of R&B, acoustic, and electronic music on the album. The two admitted to becoming much more diverse in their attempts to create their own style, as well as how the music develops and the images that the melody and rap portray. They later went on to say that the reason we mixed such a variety of genres is because we wanted to bring out more of our character that we don't get to show when we're in Big Bang. When recordings were done, 11 tracks were recorded, including a collab with label mate Park Bomb. The duo later mentioned that after recording the album, they became attached to all of their songs as they worked on each and every one of the songs by staying up many nights. TOP's solo song Turn It Up was also included on the album as a bonus track. Preceding the release of the album, the duo held a worldwide premiere showcase for their album at Times Square in Seoul, which was broadcast live on YouTube. While hosting it, the duo sampled parts of their tracks to their fans and explained its lyrical content and background. The duo also showcased a change in their physical appearances. Their constant use of the peace sign for the promotional activities, such as the cover design for their album, also gained attention, with the duo explaining that since the mark is similar to the Playboy logo, their attractive, sexy, and fun sides have come out while promoting the album. The peace sign was later retracted after YG Entertainment was asked by Playboy to remove the image for its similarities to its own logo. It was replaced by a typographic image of a heart composed of GD&TOP. This project wasn't just about music, it was about image and attitude. GDragon and TOP didn't present themselves as idols, they branded themselves as artists. Two distinct personalities united by creative chemistry. The entire album oozed luxury, rebellion, and confidence. From their platinum blonde hair to their futuristic fashion, GD&TOP became a visual and sonic statement that broke the rules of K-pop at the time. GD&TOP was a turning point. It gave GDragon the space to experiment freely, setting the stage for the sound design and aesthetic we'd later see in One of a Kind and Coup d'etat. This album proved that GDragon wasn't just a performer, he was a visionary who could take risks and still dominate the charts. It also reflected his deep trust in TOP. Their collaboration felt like a creative dialogue between two geniuses who understood each other's rhythm perfectly. And even more than a decade later, GD&TOP remains one of the most iconic duo albums in K-pop. It inspired countless idol rappers to embrace artistry over image, to take risks, and to blend genres fearlessly. I believe that for GDragon, GD&TOP was more than just a project. I think it was the blueprint for his solo artistry, and I think that you can hear echoes of it in his later work. The creativeness, the boldness, the sonic chaos, the effortless blend between fashion and music. I think it's the sound of two creative geniuses at their peak, and I think it's rewriting what K-pop could be. So there it is, GDragon's albums ranked from Heartbreaker to Ubermensch. I think that each one of these had its own world, its own chaos, its own controversy, and I think its own evolution from neon pop chaos to introspective art to philosophical rebirth. What's wild is how G Dragon turns every criticism into creativity, every scandal into style, and every doubt into definition. Whether you love the rebellion of coup d'etat or the rawness of Kwon Ji Yong, one thing is clear, and it never changes. G Dragon doesn't follow trends. G Dragon is the trend. So, guys, now I want to hear from you. What's your favorite GD album, and which era do you think define him the most? Drop your ranking in the comment, hit like, and make sure you subscribe because we're just getting started. Bye, guys. Thank you for watching.